So frequently asked questions, how do you know when the grapes are ripe? Well, they're not ripe just because they're purple, just like your tomato isn't ripe just because it starts to turn red. We have to look at a lot of variables. For one thing, I eat a lot of grapes, evaluating the flavors that come out, because that's the most important thing. It's also important though to look at things like sugar and acidity. So we take our sample of grapes, picked at random, and we mush them up. We crush them. Yes, back in the day, people did this with their feet. Now mostly do it with machines, but we do occasionally do small batches by foot. We then strain the juice. And because this is a red skin berry and we've crushed it up thoroughly, the juice, which is actually fairly clear, is now somewhat pink. This could be rosé. So now we're pressing. And of course, we're not doing the kind of job that a true crusher and press would do. So we're not getting a completely accurate sample, but we're getting one we can learn to rely upon, okay? So now we have a glass of fresh squeezed grape juice. But how do we measure it? Well, if we're looking at sugar, there's a couple of ways, and the most common thing is to use a refractometer, which is this device here, which actually measures the bending of light going through a aqueous water solution. And predominantly the thing that's in there is sugar, except, as you may be able to see here, this juice is very cloudy. It's got a lot of particles in it. So we either let it settle or run it through our nifty centrifuge. It started work at the same winery I did in 1983. And the spinning pushes all the solids to the bottom, so we get clarified juice. And with that clarified juice, we can then put it in the refractometer. And we look through the refractometer, and it has a scale that measures what is basically sugar in clarified juice. It looks something like this. And it tells us the percent sugar by volume, or by weight. So here the line shows exactly at 20%, which coincidentally is very close to what I'm getting here. 20% sugar is on the low side. That will translate into just over 10% alcohol, make a thin, not generally desirable wine. So generally in the case of grapes, we're looking at full ripeness at between 22 and 23% sugar, and many winemakers like to go above that. That gives them higher alcohol wines. Here at Paradisos del Sol, we're pretty much looking at that 22, 23% optimal range, because one of the other things we care about is the pH. pH is important for food safety. pH 4 or below, you're not going to get food poisoning. Wine generally has a pH down in the 3 to 3.8 range. To avoid the biogenic amines, the things that can give people headaches, we try and keep our pHs below 3.5. So pH and Brix are the things that I'm really focused on in the lab. The flavor of the grape itself, absolutely important, because sugar is something we can deal with, acid is something we can deal with, but if you don't have flavor, you got nothing. So that's how we decide when it's ripe.